I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quite so thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, with this logic you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grieving. Put your foot on the gas, no, never stop competing, yeah.
I've been doing this, I'm on it, I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it, you know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic, keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy, the enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily, spreading like a rare disease. But I won't let it get to me, I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this, freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus, living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous? Do you seek greatness? Trust me, you can take it, go on and take your aim, yeah.
Built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the gas, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grieving. Put your foot on the gas, no, never stop competing, yeah.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
When we get to the FBI, we don't know who did the work. You heard that any of that information is redacted. We don't know who did the work. It's a giant secret. We know that by the time the FBI gets involved, the profile, the text file, that's a snip to use to try to identify somebody is more than twice as big when it gets to the FBI from Othram. We don't know how.
I've got an itch I can't scratch, I'm missing a piece that completes a whole part of me, an open wound scar to see. Everybody come here, gather round, welcome to the freak show, the best in town.
What is going on, Hive? I hope everybody had a fantastic Monday. Let me double check the audio. Oh, yeah. We are coming in loud and clear. I have what I believe to be an awesome stream lined up for everyone this evening. I had seen rather a YouTube comment that said, Birdie, I know that you're really not somebody that just goes into the documents and you dissect them, but it would be interesting if you gave your take on a few documents. And it got me thinking, because there is a document that talks about somebody who put on their uncle's ATF jacket and hat and walked into 1122 King Road when the bodies were being removed, and apparently said that it looked like everybody was double tapped, that it looked like somebody deer hunted inside of an apartment, and that there was a blood trail on the second floor going to the bathroom, and quote, he didn't make it. So I went back to that document, and I could tell you that one of my favorite things that happens to me is when I'm looking for one thing and then something just randomly pops out and it sends me down this whole different rabbit hole. And that document connected me to Gunderson and him canvassing the Queen Road apartments. And then it connected me to Gun Rack Guy. Okay, everybody, if you've been following the Idaho 4 case, you know about the sound of a gun racking at 3:45 a.m. I'm going to be breaking this down this evening, so buckle up. It blew my mind. I hope that I have the slides prepared with enough visuals to help you all wrap your head around what I saw. And I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts on it. So if this is your first time tuning in, I'm your host, Birdie. I go live weeknights at 7 p.m. Central. Welcome to the Hive Mind. This is a contrarian thinking live stream. So we think past the headlines. We question the narrative. A lot of people initially thought of this as a conspiracy channel, but as most conspiracy theorists have experienced at one point or another in their life, we're just 6 months early. And then everybody hits you up and they say, how did you know? Well, we don't drink the tap water, so we're not over fluoridated. And we use this thing inside of our head called our brains. However, if you are somebody that is just going to parrot the mainstream media and not keep an open mind, you're probably going to hate me. You're going to hate the stream. You're going to hate the chat. That's okay. You can either scroll away, you can hang out, ruin your Monday night, make it worse. However, I would encourage people to hang out, see what you think about it. Keep an open mind. Our chat is awesome. We allow you to say whatever you want. Our mods, formerly known as Beck, Discord Dawn, UFO Dog, and Luna Bliss, they give you enough leash to hang yourself. You can disagree in the chat. You can disagree with me. Just know that if you're going to dish it out, that we also allow people to dish it right back. So that's the beauty of the Hive. We like to have the true freedom to think out loud and the true freedom of speech. And we have this adult word known as a discussion, which is hard for some people. Not for the majority of the people that tune in here. However, I'm going to say what's up to everybody. Before I do, or as I am, please take a second, swipe down on the chat, hit that like button, tap subscribe if you have not. Discord Dawn made this QR code. If you screenshot this screen right now, and then after the live concludes, just tap the QR code. That will take you to all of the Hive socials. Excuse me. It'll take you to my TikTok, the Discord, Hive Mind merch store. And if you could please, out of all of those links, the Discord is the one to be in, especially if you're new to this case. Now that you've seen it back in the news, the Discord is a great place to get brought up to speed. We have an epic community on our Discord that is always willing to answer questions. They're posting stuff constantly as soon as it breaks. That would be my recommendation for you all. Just make sure that you have the app downloaded on your phone from whatever type of phone you have, that their app store, right? Before you press that link. Now, as I say what's up to everybody, I want you guys to start thinking through what you remember about 3:45 a.m. on the night that these murders occurred. Aaron, how are you doing? Grace, Luna Bliss, Brandon, great to see you. Happy HK. No, gun rack guy is not Gunderson. No. Sweetly Psychotic said, we're conspiracy theorists. I think of like the SpongeBob meme where they go lowercase, uppercase, and they spell that out to kind of mock people that call you a name. That's how I feel. The Hive and people who have an open mind when it comes to this case, completely vindicated. And yes, it feels good, but now is not the time to just slow down and let off the gas and, just keep patting ourselves on the back. We got a lot of work to do still. B is for Becca, Carolina Bravo, UFO Dog, Andy Man, Jeanette, Living Dead Girl, UK Karen, Frisco Chick, Lala One, IRN Blue, Tara B, Jennifer Bode, Aaron RD, Ash Cash, Nebula, Made in the USA 85, Wild West, Stella, Jason Brow, Mrs. Jim Morrison, Monique, Meggles, Cookies Corner 420. Good to see you. Uncle Daddy, how are you doing? Ava, Karen, FB Jones, Scout. Hey, it's Ray. Birdie BB 23. K13, Mary Tyler, Fly Sky Girl. Crime Talk with Crin. Coco Cash, Blue Eyed Candy, how are you doing? Clint Spinster, STL Dog Mama. Gypsy, Foya and Find Out. Electra's tuning in from Serbia. Noxious Fumes. Chuck 420. Chelsea. Joe Bosley. Jennifer Bode. Nikki Taylor. DJ Habitude. Tinfoil Hat Claire, great to see you. Walker in Georgia. Jess Senzi tuning in from New Zealand. Philly Girl, Lisa Marie. Mary Hope. Jess Martinez is tuning in from North Carolina. Well, again, thank you everybody that does tune in. Please, please, please hit that like button. That's the best way to push this out into the ether webs, into the algorithm. The initial pop of likes is what pushes this out to people that have not seen this stream or this channel before. So let's get into it, shall we? I want to give a shout out to Pretty Much Maybe and also Daddy Jones. This is how this channel has built momentum, right? I've always leaned into the chat. The chat is what makes the hive mind. So if you are new here, whenever I say hive, I'm referring to the chat. And that kind of organically happened back when I was going live on TikTok. I had said to the chat, I'm like, you guys are like a hive mind. And then it just progressed over the next few months. And now we're here and we have a Discord. And yesterday in the stream, I really showed a bunch of people's inputs on their theories, especially surrounding Brent Kopaka. I do believe that Brent Kopaka's name is going to be coming back into this narrative. However, take Brent Kopaka out of it. Let me just generalize here. This is the power of the collective. It's a saying that I've said many times. It is like-minded people that are coming together in search of the truth. We can disagree along the way. We can debate along the way. But at the end of the day, we all have the same goal. And that's what's important. And you only get to that point if you allow disagreement to happen in real time, right? There has to be a level of intensity to the truth. So you can't just shy away from it, whether you're in the chat or whether you're sitting right here in my chair. You got to lean into it. Why are people disagreeing? Why are people thinking that? You got to ask that question, and you got to be okay with either being wrong, which is hard for a lot of people to do, or you have to be able to be okay with, let me go back and double check my work. And so when I was showing these posts from our Discord, Daddy Jones was talking about how if Brian Koberger flipped on everyone, or why Brian Koberger hasn't flipped on anyone, excuse me. And then at the end of this was talking about the sheath being planted. And Pretty Much Maybe, I'll put this full screen. When I was editing, I randomly saw this comment. pretty much maybe says it was planted by the guy in the fake FBI jacket, which is supplement number 0173 in the ISP, or the Idaho State Police reports. And it sent me down a rabbit hole. And I was texting my mods, and I was saying, we got to go back and we got to look for people in news reports like long before the crime scene photos came out. Let's go look at early broadcasts. Do we see anybody that's a one-off character in an ATF jacket? Right? Apparently this guy's uncle was in the ATF and he wore his old jacket and hat and walked into the crime scene. I'm going to be getting into that whole document if you're not familiar with it. So that's not really the point that I'm making as far as the details of it right now. Give me a couple of slides. The point is this. I started looking to see if I could find somebody in an ATF jacket. Looking through all this old footage. I'm dissecting the document. And I remembered that Officer Gunderson canvassed the Queen Road Apartments on November 13th. I've shown that on the stream before. So I started rewatching that, because I could have sworn that somebody had said their boyfriend went hunting, which is mentioned in the same report that this ATF jacket is mentioned in. Okay. So any comment in the chat, and pretty much maybe gets a goated award. Any comment in the chat, it'll catch my eye and it'll make an entire stream, which is awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And so I have shown this report on the stream before. The original stream that I talked about this was on August 20th of 2025. I will put this full screen, because originally I was really going deep down this theory of there could have been somebody shot, right? And this report talks about victims being double tapped. We know that the weapons don't really match the scene. There could have been two weapons. And if someone, if someone says that they were double tapped in the context of a homicide investigation, it usually means the victim was shot twice in rapid succession. Okay. And so you can see my notes down over here where this gentleman had described the crime scene as shooting a deer inside of an apartment building. He made no mention of anyone being stabbed. And you can see here, he's saying that all of the victims were double tapped. Well, then as you continue to read, which I will just pause here and let me read this whole report if you haven't heard it. Okay. So Michael Van Leuven was the person who submitted this Idaho State Police report. This was on November 22nd of 2022. So on November 22nd, 2022, Idaho State Police Detective Alderson, Tollison, Talbot, and I, referring to Van Leuven, and Detective Sergeant Van Leuven interviewed the Latah County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Timothy Best regarding information that he had received related to the homicides. So Van Leuven interviewed Latah County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Timothy Best regarding information he had received related to the homicides. Best advised that he had received information from Redacted at Redacted. Redacted related that he had received a phone call from somebody, and this person sounded drunk. This person lived at blank in Moscow, Idaho. The address is approximately 350 feet from the house where the homicides occurred. Blank advised that his uncle used to work for the ATF and that he had his uncle's ATF hat and jacket. Blank said he put on this hat and jacket and walked into the crime scene when the bodies were being removed. Blank said he had walked into the crime scene and observed the blood evidence. Blank said he spoke to a Moscow police officer named Blank However, Blank is not a Moscow PD officer. He was a recruit, but didn't make it off. And I believe this stands for field training something. He didn't make it out of the field training. Blank then proceeded to say that they wanted to search his house, but said that he would not give them consent and said Blank would have to talk to his landlord. He then described the crime scene as shooting a deer inside of an apartment building and further told Blank that he was, listen to this part. Blank further told Blank that he was outside of his house getting ready for a hunting trip when he heard a car starting up at approximately 3:45 a.m. on the morning of the homicides and saw a car come from the area of the homicide and drove past his house. He had no vehicle description other than it was a car. Blank told Blank that all of the victims were quote unquote double tapped in the house, and he made no mention of anyone being stabbed. Blank described a blood trail in the house that led toward the bathroom, but he didn't make it. Blank said he went hunting that day near Deary with a man named Blank. Blank said there were reporters near his house setting up to shoot video and that one of the reporters backed into his vehicle. This interview was audio recorded. The recording was later placed on a disc and the disc will be transferred to the MPD. Nothing further. Now, just to give some clarity on this, because I'm going to show video clips, I'm going to show diagrams. I went pretty deep on this, okay? I went pretty much as deep as I could, randomly stumbling into this thought process. All right? But this is the document that made me question Gun Rat Guy. So it sounds like what had happened is somebody received a call from another person. Okay? So let's say that my phone rings and I get a call from Discord Dawn. Discord Dawn tells me everything that I just laid out in the report. I'm like, oh my God, what? You really went into the crime scene? Yada, yada, yada. This is what the victims look like. You saw a blood trail. They look like they were double tapped. They weren't stabbed. I then would take that information after Discord Dawn called and told me that, and I called the sheriff, and now the sheriff is reporting what I had said. Okay, so that's how this report is reading. Just to clarify, does that make sense to everybody? Type a 1 if you're following, because it took me a little bit to realize that it's a second person, like it's in second person telling the sheriff, and the sheriff is the one being interviewed, passing along the second person interview. Okay, you guys got it. Good. Sweet. Just wanted to make sure. So I'm going to play this. Okay, let's remember the parts where it says Blank said that he went hunting that day near Deary with a man named Blank, and that this person was outside at 3:45 in the morning. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play this. This is Officer Gunderson, and when he was doing a canvass of the area on the 13th. I will go ahead and play this audio.
Hi there. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You guys are students?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got the vandal alert. So we're just conducting a neighborhood canvass, just making sure anybody heard anything, saw anything last night at all.
I did not. I got back from the corner club at 11:30 with my boyfriend, and we didn't hear anything.
Okay. What time did you guys go to bed right after that? Or
12:30.
I'm not the boyfriend. I was in Spokane.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what time did you wake up?
My boyfriend went hunting at 5 in the morning, so he left around then.
Okay.
And so he's on his way back now. My boyfriend went hunting at 5 in the morning, so he left around then.
Okay.
And so he's on his way back now.
So very interesting, right? We have somebody on camera that is within 350 feet, which is a pretty close distance to where the homicides occurred that evening, that went hunting at 5 a.m. Now, if you've ever been hunting, you know that you want to be in the tree stand by the time day breaks, because that's when stuff starts moving. And prior to that hunting trip, you are going to have to be getting ready, probably transporting stuff out to your car. Okay. And if he was hunting at 5 a.m. and now he's already on his way back home, as you know, if you've ever been around hunters or if you are a hunter, you're not out there more times than not, rather, before daybreak all the way through the night. Maybe you're on a guy's trip or you're doing something like that. But most times, if you're hunting rather locally, you're going to get out there bright and early. You're going to get up in the tree stand and you want to be there before day breaks. Okay. Hunting, as Nebula just said, is sun up to sundown. However, you have to incorporate getting dressed, getting into your gear so you don't freeze your ass off, getting everything ready and put into the car if you didn't do it the night before, and then go to your location, park, walk into the woods, get up in the tree, get settled, and get ready to hunt, right? There's a process to it. Sleuth or Dare says you got to get rid of your smell. Yeah, there's an entire process to hunting. So she says her boyfriend went hunting around 5 a.m. And what I did is I then took an overhead shot of 1122 and I drew a 350 feet perimeter around 1122. So it would according to the police report, it's going to be any person within this small radius. And just so people know, 350 feet, that might not sound like that far. I mean, it's not that far, but it's just over a football field in each direction. Okay. It's just over a football field in each direction. This also, when I did this overhead view, it really gave me a glimpse into just how tightly packed this area is. I've had devil's advocates on the stream that he's drove around that area. When you really see the point of view from a dash cam and a camera that's not a body cam with a fisheye lens, you can really get a different angle of like, wow, these houses are tightly packed in there. Okay. So I did this diagram and I started thinking about, okay, well, this interview occurred in the Queen Road apartments. And then I see this where it says blank lived at, and I looked at this redacted box and I thought to myself, I could see 500 Queen Road in Moscow, Idaho, right? It's a short box, 500 Queen Road. It's a short address. So now I started thinking how Gunderson had given his card to that girl and said, when your boyfriend gets home, have him give me a call. Okay. So this is where gun rack guy in my head popped in. Was this gun rack simply someone taking their hunting supplies to their car and talking with their buddy before they left? Okay. He said he was outside of his house getting ready for a hunting trip at 3:45 in the morning, the night of the homicides. Blank said he went hunting that day near Deary with another person. Okay. So I'm going to continue to go through this. That's where my brain started going crazy. Well, Deary is about a 35-minute drive. Okay. So when you think about wanting to be in your tree stand around 5 in the morning, I don't think that it's unrealistic if you are excited to go hunting with one of your buddies and you're up and you're early, and anybody that knows any serious deer hunter, you know, they live for this shit. Any hunter about anything, they love it. They live for it. It's their personality, especially, I mean, I've had buddies in college that's all they talked about at all times. 3:45 in the morning makes a lot of sense to be taking your gear out to your car. Okay, so if you're going to, okay, and just hear with me or hear me out. If somebody says, oh, they went hunting around 5 a.m., they went hunting around 5 a.m., and the night before, when that girl that just said that they were out at the corner club, or she was out at the corner club. If your boyfriend's going hunting, are you going to be up with him, or is he just going to be getting up, showering, getting dressed, getting ready to go? He's going to be taking his stuff out to his car. He's going to be shooting the breeze with one of his friends. He's going to be getting the trunk ready, and he's wide awake at that point. He's excited. That's my point. That is my point. Just if you know a hunter, I'm not going to talk about it again. It's just like, if you know, you know. So knowing that Deary is about a 40-minute drive away, and he said that he was already outside at 3:45, packing up, getting ready to go. Shit, even if he did leave at 5, he's packing up his car. He's probably got to take a couple trips, especially if he's hunting on public land. He's got to go get his tree stand. He's got to go get his gun. He's got to get the ammo. He's got to get all of his supplies. Now, I want to re-listen to what we have assumed is gun rack guy, which could be a gun racking. We hear somebody talking that we assumed has been on the phone the whole time. Is the person, the boyfriend of the girl, coming from this direction, from the left, and is one of his buddies coming from the right? And are they meeting at his car for their hunting trip where they talk about being outside? Are they clearing their gun, talking to each other? Do their voices sound similar? They're both 20-year-old males. It's early in the morning. They're slamming multiple doors. Are they getting ready to go? So I just want you to think about, rather than looking at this now through, it's gun rack guy, somebody's on the phone, they're about to go do a hit. I mean, we have a literal document that talks about somebody being outside at 3:45 in the morning of the homicides, getting ready for a hunting trip. What do you need to hunt? More time than not, you're going to need a gun. Okay, so just, I'm going to play this. You tell me, after hearing what I just said, if now you could picture two guys getting ready to go hunting. Okay. And I just saw somebody say, why is the video so loud and Birdie's voice is not as loud? It's because I have this volume turned all the way up because I know not everybody listens with headphones in. So I'm trying to help you guys out so that you can hear it easier. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is this. We have somebody saying I was outside at 3:45 in the morning going hunting. And we hear a gun rack. And then they say, I heard a car start, but I couldn't get a vehicle description. Whether you're not going to load your gun before you hunt, no. But if you're talking to somebody or whatever it is, and you're checking to make sure that it's empty, or you're doing whatever you got to do for gun safety, you could clear it. You could make sure it's clear. If I went and got my pistol right now and I cleared it, and then it's cleared, and then I racked it again, the sound is not that different, and guaranteed it wouldn't be able to be anything where you could tell on a camera like this from that far away. Okay, so that's one point. I want to really hone in at the end where he says, I had heard a car, but didn't give a good vehicle description other than that it was a car. So you hear a gun rack. Okay. We have somebody saying they were outside at 3:45 a.m. hunting. It's just the timing of it. You have a girl who's on video saying my boyfriend was hunting, and then he comes back and there's reporters there. I'm not saying that this is right. I'm just saying it could be an explanation for a gun rack. Somebody is saying that they were hunting. And then if you listen at the end here, tell me if you don't hear a car driving, which also matches that exact same description. And just to clarify too, the person that was going hunting is not the person that put the ATF jacket on. The person going hunting received a call from the guy that put the ATF jacket on, and the dude going hunting then reported it to the sheriff. And we can argue, we could debate, that's all fine. I'm just saying, you got a guy hunting, we hear a gun rack, and he says he was outside at 3:45, within 350 feet of the King Road Apartments. That's all that I'm saying. It's all that I'm saying. And then he says he hears a car, sees a car, doesn't have a description of it. And you listen here, you hear a car. Now, I'm not saying that this couldn't be an amazing cover story. It couldn't be too convenient. I've seen the comments. My point is this. Really, a lot of people have just talked about this guy who put an ATF jacket on and went into the crime scene. Nobody's really talked about the rest of that report, because the rest of the report is about the guy who received the call and called the sheriff. And the guy that called the sheriff said, I was outside at 3:45. I heard a car. I was getting ready to go hunting. Went hunting in Deary. It's 45 minutes or 40 minutes away. And he's out there at 5 a.m. Right? Similar to a lot of the other things with the audio and the video, no one's really come out and told us what it is. And with a lot of the posts and just in general, the narrative around this case, they let our minds wander. So we have a time, we have a hunter, and what do you need when you're hunting? A gun. So I don't know. It is what it is. That's just my thought. It's an explanation for the gun rack guy. What I really want to dive into, in addition to all of that, is something else. Okay? I want to know, how is it possible that somebody wore their uncle, who used to work for the ATF and put his jacket and hat on, walked into a crime scene when the bodies were being removed? Where is the follow-up interview? There's nothing in the ISP or the MPD documents about the person that had said they did that. Where are the login sheets? Don't you have to sign into a crime scene? Don't you have to have a sheet that says, this is when I entered, this is when I left? Who's watching the damn crime scene? Also, you are impersonating a federal agent. Are there charges brought up amongst this person or against this person? What happened? They just got to play around and dress up and cosplay an ATF agent and just get away with it? And then I started to think, well, what if there's a lot of truth in this report? And that's why they didn't follow up. One of the things that jumped off the page to me, now that we've seen these other crime scene photos and we have all of the DNA testing, what's been tested or what's not been tested, was this part right here, where he said the ATF jacket guy said that all of the victims were double tapped in the house, and he made no mention of anyone being stabbed. He described a blood trail in the house that led toward the bathroom, but that, quote, he didn't make it. He didn't make it. Second floor, blood trail towards the bathroom. Where was the only dude in that entire house that was deceased found? In the room right past the bathroom, being Ethan in Xana's room. And yes, guys, before I get into the rest of these photos, please take a second, hit the like button. We got almost 1,600 people in here. We only got 540 likes. That's no bueno. That is no bueno. I don't charge for anything. I don't put anything behind a paywall. I want, this stream to continue to grow and reach more open-minded thinkers. That's all that I ask. Hit like, tap subscribe. I appreciate you guys. You're not going to miss anything if you just swipe down and hit it real quick. And so this report, the fact that there's nothing else that follows up on it, it could be one of two things. But especially after reading, there was a blood trail leading toward the bathroom on a second floor, and he didn't make it. When I said there'd be one of two things, it could be one being BS, two being legit, and they avoid it. Well, how would anybody know that there was a blood trail going towards the bathroom on the second floor and that he didn't make it? Unless you went in there. And then why wouldn't there be a report on it? Why would they not follow up with this guy? Well, then they would have to admit either a handful of things. One of the following. They didn't have the crime scene secured. Nobody cared about the login sheet on who was coming, who was going. They let a guy who had an uncle who worked in the ATF wear a jacket and a hat and just go see a bunch of bodies being removed and could have contaminated the scene. That could be one reason, 2 reasons, 3 reasons why maybe we don't see that report. But what I'm trying to get at with this report and with this document is this. 3:45 a.m., we hear a gun rack. In this report at 3:45 a.m., he says he was outside getting ready to go hunting. Then the other guy talks about a blood trail on the second floor to the bathroom, and he didn't make it. Ethan was found in Xana's room right next to the bathroom on the second floor. We hear a gun rack on Linda Lane at 3:45. I don't know if there's ever been a report that matches up almost as good as this one on it could have been. We also have to understand for a very, very, very long time, that gun rack we've looked at being nefarious because we've heard these kids were shot. I could be completely wrong, but I've never seen a timestamp within 350 feet of the King Road residence going hunting where you need a gun to hunt. He was hunting with one of his friends. We hear people talking. And then that same guy reports a dude who put an ATF jacket on that we hear nothing about that described a crime scene where people were shot and there's a blood trail. I thought it was worth looking into. I thought it was worth putting out there onto the stream. I hope everybody looks into it. This is not something where it's got to be definitive. I hope you guys are able to, take this and run with it. I'd love to know. This is what I would put a request out for anybody in our Discord, or if you guys want to leave it in the YouTube comments. I would love to figure out who, when the guy who put the ATF hat and jacket on, I would love to know who he said he spoke to that he assumed was a Moscow police officer named blank. It's a very short name. And they said, well, blank is not a Moscow officer. He was a recruit and didn't make it off FTO. And then said that they wanted to search his house and he wouldn't give him consent and said he'd have to talk to his landlord. So I'd like to know about those 2 or 3 sentences right there. Because there's no other report. I can't find a report in MPD or ISP that talks about any person, recruit or officer, that spoke to a guy in an ATF jacket. Isn't that a little bit weird that it wasn't followed up on? Well, that's a great question. Ali Guido says, well, why did the fake ATF guy call, when we're referring to gun rack guy in this question, meaning the dude that was hunting, if it's him, but for the sake of this conversation, why did the fake ATF guy call the gun rack guy to begin with? To me, that screams young college kid. They talk about how he sounded drunk on the phone, meaning the guy that went hunting, when he received the call from the ATF guy, said that the ATF guy sounded drunk. So I'm not sure. It's a document that deserves more digging, in my opinion, because there's no follow-up on it. Or it could have been the opposite. As somebody said, maybe the hunter guy sounded drunk too. Best. But when I read it, it says the sheriff, Deputy Timothy Best, received information from blank at, I'm assuming this is a time and a date. The hunter related that he had received a phone call from ATF Jacket Guy. And this is his name, first and last. Hunter, meaning the hunter, said ATF Jacket Guy sounded drunk. They wouldn't redact Best's name. They wouldn't redact Best's name, the sheriff up here, but they would redact the guy who was hunting at that time. So the hunting guy said that ATF Jacket Guy sounded drunk. I'm assuming this is hunting guy lived at 500 Queen Road in Moscow, Idaho. This address is approximately 350 feet from the house where the homicides occurred. Well, yeah, I just read it because I don't think they would redact Best's name. Wouldn't they say that Best said hunter guy sounded drunk? No, they redact the hunter's name and they redact the ATF Jacket Guy's name. Best's name is not redacted at all. But again, dive into it. You know, they would never redact a sheriff chief's deputy name in a report. And then they just conveniently go talk to the guy's girlfriend. That's right. Yeah. So I think it makes sense. I'm not saying that it's right, but I think it makes sense. I think it lines up. There's been a lot of talk about somebody racking a gun. We have a timestamp. We have a dude who would need a gun to go do what they were doing and being outside for at that time. Now, I have this slide because the request that I was kind of about to put out to people in the Hive or in our Discord is, I know Christie's Chaos is somebody that I've talked about a lot, highly regarded as far as the early days with the news reports and clips, because I think that it would be very interesting if we all kind of scoured those early clips. Do we see anybody in an ATF jacket that looks out of place? Do we see anybody in a weird hat? Do we see anybody that looks younger that is walking into the crime scene? Right? That, I mean, I don't know how much we've combed through. I don't think that those are going to be in the crime scene photos because this is when the bodies were removed. And that's when he said he walked into the crime scene when the bodies were being removed. Okay. So around this time is when we would probably most likely see them. And look, sometimes I want to check in when I go and I present stuff like this. Even if you don't agree, can you type a 1 if you followed that whole theory through? Because ultimately my only goal is not to say this is what it is. I want people to dig on it. Try to find out, is it the dude racking his gun that was hunting that went to Deary and then he was talking to his buddy and he wasn't on a phone? We have shitty, grainy audio on the Linda Lane car park footage. And does that make sense? And then is there any truth to this? There's no follow-up. Well, that makes me feel good seeing all the ones because, like I said, I put a lot of time into making sure that as I talked through it, I had the right visuals. Now we can get into the minutia of that's what this gun sounds like, or you wouldn't do that if you're hunting because you would do that when you left wherever you're hunting at the first time, meaning clearing and whatnot. But we can get into all that. It really caught my attention and I felt like it needed to be shared and have a little bit of a spotlight on it. And when I look at this photo then too, guys, let me get this down. So the ATF jacket guy, told the hunter guy that all of the victims were double tapped in the house. He made no mention of anyone being stabbed. He described a blood trail in the house that led toward the bathroom, but that, quote, he didn't make it. And it's like we see along that entire half wall untested male DNA. We see victims' blood, and the only male that was deceased in the house officially is Ethan. So if this guy was in the crime scene and he talks about going towards a bathroom down a hallway on the second floor, it lines up with the statement, with the report. And there's a lot of other reports that line up a lot less, that hold a lot of weight. So, like I said, I'm very, very curious if anybody can find correlating documents. I could not. And I was control Fing looking for all of these names and all of what I thought the names could be and all of the addresses. I did the MPD, combined supplements, all of them. I did the ISP. I did the officers' names and the detectives' names that did the reports. I got nothing. So, and Peter said, you must not be a hunter or a gun person. Well, Peter, tell me that you're new to the Hive without telling me you're new to the Hive. I've talked many times. My father was a gun salesman, and I grew up on Air Force bases going hunting and shooting my entire life. So I respectfully say that. Oh, he's not talking to me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, UFO dog. Now I feel bad, but again, these comments are going quick, and sometimes I see them, and that's what happens sometimes. So that's why I say it kind of in a joking manner, but I wanted to make sure, and my bad, Peter, I'll clown horn myself for that. But that is true. So it's like when I hear that stuff, you know, it just lines up so closely with this evidence. What is everybody's thoughts on that? And again, my bad, Peter. I always feel really bad whenever that happens. Sometimes I just get a little bit too quick trigger. What are your guys' thoughts on this report about the ATF guy and then that chick saying that her boyfriend went hunting? I want to try to focus on how different. This is my question. If that is who it was racking the gun, so if that is the person racking the gun who says they were outside of their house getting ready for a hunting trip at 3:45 and saw a car, and then we hear a car starting, and then the report that he made was about a guy who put an ATF jacket on and said there was blood going towards the bathroom and he didn't make it. If that is the guy racking his gun, let me ask this question. How different does the timeline sound? Because in my opinion, it sounds completely different. If anything, it might line up better with earlier in the night. Maybe that guy who was going hunting was still asleep. And maybe the crimes were happening earlier. Maybe there's an explanation for it. Right? And my point is this. This is probably one of the most thorough times that I didn't even have to speculate. I just pulled 3:45 a.m. I pulled the document, and that's really it. So it's interesting. It lines up. And while you guys are answering, let me go through. Blue-Eyed Candy said, what vehicle was the hunter driving? So that's a great question, because Blue-Eyed Candy, to my point, is how is there no follow-up with ATF guy? How is there just this? I will say that the interview did say it was recorded. The interview has been recorded, so it can be FOIA'd. I was texting my mods about that today. Would love to get that FOIA under the Hive's belt and play that, because that would be the Latah County Sheriff Chief Deputy Timothy Best talking about this interaction and the call that he received. So maybe they do mention it in the interview, but not in the report. And then you followed up with another super chat saying, too early to be the truck passing the Banfield body cam time. That was at, yeah, I think it is, right? Because didn't the black truck pass the body cam footage at like 3:12 or something? Or am I remembering that right? Sometimes off the top of my head, it's hard to keep all that straight. Somebody in the chat will help me out. About 3:15. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, 3:12. It did sound like a diesel though in that in the clip where I played it, and I'm going to play that again in a second. Paul Taylor, follow me frame 3579 says, hi, found a channel. He's done audio and can hear clean. Well, if you have a connection with that person, or if you want to comment on one of their videos, or send us the username, send it to birdieshivemind@gmail.com. I would love to, I have 2 people that have done audio for me in the past that do good work, but I'm always open to, continue to network with those type of people. It's going to be very important in this case. Grammy Tammy says, we need to go back and check to see what the Simpsons. You're right. Maybe, is there an episode of the Simpsons that lines up with this case that cryptically has been telling us the truth? That's funny, Grammy Tammy. Good to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Marissa, thank you so much for the super sticker. And IRN Blue said, Ann Elise and Nancy Grace paired up on our podcast about BK posing the bodies today. 2 people that have a lot of influence. Disappointing as always. Mods, I need a new clown horn again. Damn it. Damn it. I've gone through 4 clown horns on this stream, and I lost it now. Son of a. It was probably from that crash out where I was like, I got to give the loudest, longest clown horn that I've ever given to Globe Media in the history of the Hive Mind. It probably broke then, but yeah, that's clean off. Damn it. Give me like a train horn at this point. We'll get like a train horn or like a semi truck horn. But let's go back. Let's listen to it again. And let's really try to key in on the voices that we hear with them talking. Is it somebody on the phone, or is there somebody that's coming from the left of the screen and somebody coming from the right of the screen, and they're talking? Or if it is one person, are they on the phone with their buddy? Did they call them to make sure that they were up, getting ready for the trip? They didn't want to call while they were inside the house because his girlfriend was sleeping still. I mean, it's 3:45 in the morning. It's a weekend. She was out at the corner club the night before. Try to think through it in the way of like, if you were going hunting or if your man was going hunting, what would that look and sound like? Yeah, I need a clown horn and a stress titty. That's right. So we'll listen to this girl's interview again, and then we're going to go ahead and listen to the Linda Lane.
Hi.
there. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. You guys are students?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got the grand alert. So we're just conducting a neighborhood canvas, just making sure if anybody heard anything, saw anything last night at all.
I did not. I got back from the corner club at 11:30 with my boyfriend, and we didn't hear anything.
Okay. What time did you guys go to bed right after that? Or
12:30.
I'm not the boyfriend. I was in Spokane.
okay.
Yeah.
And then what time do you wake up?
My boyfriend went hunting at 5 in the morning, so he left around then.
Okay.
And so he's on his way back now. My boyfriend went hunting at 5 in the morning, so he left around then.
Okay.
Now, I understand she says he left around then. However, if this report is correlating to her boyfriend, which is 350 feet from the house, and he's saying 3:45 a.m. on that morning, said he went hunting near Deary with a friend, right? So, yeah, whether she was ready for that answer or not, that entire thing sounded scripted. All of Gunderson's body cam footage sounds scripted. So, God only knows what we're really listening to as far as authenticity in these answers. But now I will go on to, again, 350 feet of a perimeter. This address is within that. 3:45 a.m. He was outside getting ready for a hunting trip. I mean, I don't think it's unrealistic to say that he was getting ready and outside already at 3:45 and took some time to get his gun ready, his stuff packed. He made a lunch, he had breakfast, whatever it is that he's doing, and then he left around 5. I still don't even think that that's that much of a stretch, even if, you know, he went hunting at 5 in the morning. If he left then, I mean, he's only going 30 minutes. Right. And it's just very interesting that at 3:45, when somebody says they're outside, you completely hear somebody who does not seem to be trying to be quiet. They're slamming their doors. They would be racking their gun. They're talking. You're hearing their voice. They're opening their trunk. They're opening their car doors, whatever it is. It doesn't seem like they're trying to be stealthy at all. The other thing that I'll add, if you're going hunting out in Idaho and just hunting in general, is it unrealistic to have a sidearm on you? When I've gone pig hunting down in Texas, and I can tell you that what we walked in with, well, yes, we had rifles, we had a secondary weapon on us. Is that a pistol that he's racking? Is that something he's holstering for their walk into the woods, wherever they're hunting? It's dark, it's quiet. I'm sure that if anything makes a noise around you, that sounds like it's growling, you might empty the clip in that direction. I don't know. Right? I don't think that's unrealistic to have a sidearm on you while you're walking to a tree stand. You always would think that Maybe Hunter's got multiple guns. So again, Hive, the point in me showing this evening is now knowing what we know. A lot of the documents have been released. I would like to think that anything that comes out after this will be bombshells. But it is interesting to go back and look at it through a new lens. That's what I think the Hive does best. And in trying to find somebody wearing an ATF jacket, I noticed 345 hunting and I thought gun rack, and then it lines up. That's all that I'm showing this for. So please take this and run with it. It's going to be a little bit shorter of a stream this evening just because there was, a lot of audio and video and documents that I just played. So I want people to, rewatch this, dive into it. If you're in the Discord, post what you find. If anybody finds a picture of somebody in an ATF jacket that looks out of place, we'll have to come up with something that I'll have to do on stream. I'll do damn near anything. If anybody can find an initial report or an initial recording where we see somebody that looks sus AF walking into the house while the time of the bodies being removed was going on, if anybody can find that, I will damn near just do about anything that you want on stream within reason. Okay. Because that would be a bombshell. And that would almost prove that the reason why they never followed up with this guy is because he's saying it looks like they were shot twice in rapid succession, being double tapped. Nobody looked stabbed. There's a blood trail going to the bathroom and he didn't make it, which is what we see. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, I know this was a document that we dove into. It was audio and visual and kind of reading heavy, but I appreciate all of your comments. I appreciate everybody that gave a super chat. I will be back on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Central. Have a great night, everybody. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.